show you a few pictures from some fishing outings that I've been on, and just, you know, a little screen sharing. This picture really has nothing important about it except that it was the first screen share I saved to my new Fishfinder, so I was very proud of myself. Just like a little pin it on the refrigerator thing. Got my depth shading going here, and so moving on. So this next set, I have 6 here. This was over in Walton's Creek. I'm running here downscan and sidescan. You can see that there's a little ball of bait there in the middle of the screen on both ones. So I thought, okay, I guess it's working. Then I added in, you can see, in addition to the down and side scan, I got the sonar on the bottom. And, you know, pretty basic stuff. I think you guys have probably all seen this.
Does everybody know what they're looking at with the side scan here?
No.
Not really.
Yeah, so side scan there, that's a ball of bait right there in the middle of the screen.
That means it's
That-
on the right side.
That's on the right side of the boat. That straight line is the transducer. And as you're going in the boat, the new information is coming in at the top of the screen there. So stuff the boat is going over on in real time shows up at the very top of the screen. On the screen on the left, the new information is coming in where that 0, 5, 10, 20 is. That's where the new information is. And that's why those dots in the center of the one on the left are in the middle of the screen in the same way that the dots are in the middle of the screen on the right. Because that in real time, they're both in the same place. Similarly, the one on the bottom. So the one on the bottom is called just 2D sonar. The top and the side are essentially 3D. They're live.
But on that side scan, where that group is, that's pretty much underneath the boat. That's not off.
That's off to the right. 10 feet.
Well, you're right. The black is the water between your hull and the bottom. So those ones that are in the black are more or less under the boat.
They're not out
And
to
then
the
if you look over to the side, there's sort of shadows there. That ball of bait goes further in.
So
Right.
that's still a bait
Yeah.
ball?
Yes.
Well, that's the shadow that, this
Yeah.
is the shadow that this bait is
Yeah.
creating.
But the bait don't end right where that sharp black to orange line is. There's more bait over there. You can see the shadows. Right? Yeah. So
That's
anyway.
actually off to the side of the boat.
Yeah. So I'll keep going here. This not really a good one.
Pretty sweet tree there.
Yeah.
Was this the sonar of that tree?
Yeah. This was me experimenting with putting a map on one side. Again, this is in Walton's Creek, and the downscan on the other side. And just, you take a screenshot, and you know where you saw this, in case you want to go back to it later. Oops. Here we go. This is a little darker than I was hoping, but you know what you can see here again is 3 different views of the same fish. So these are down scan of a group of fish. This is what it looks like on the sonar. You see these arches, okay, and you notice that they're both in sort of in the middle of the screen because these 2 screens are moving from right to left in real time, whereas this screen is moving from top to bottom in real time. And if I can zoom all the way in, these little dots, like right here, are the fish. That's how small they are in the side scan, and that's what they look like in the down scan, and that's what they look like on sonar. That's why the sonar is so important, because it magnifies for your comprehension what those fish look like on the screen.
And how do you read that as to the size of the fish, or is it bait? What is that?
Did you catch them?
I was just doing some screenshots here. I was scouting. I was in my scouting mode.
You're not going to get the arcs if it's bait.
Yeah.
A lot of times too, is if you're floating slow over them, it'll make them look bigger.
Yep. So you go 5 miles an hour.
So now, what I wanted to show on this image was, again, we have down scan on the left side and 2D sonar on the right. I have this one on bottom lock, and so what it does is from 70 feet, it stops at about 30 feet, and it just sort of zooms in these images so you can see them better. Whereas you can see how tiny they are over here. It'd be easy to miss this, right? But this is
Is that clear view or?
Yes, this is a Garmin unit, so
Clearview.
they call this clear view, and they call this just the 2D sonar. Okay, so that was my first outing in Walton's Creek. This now is my second outing. Hopefully you'll recognize this. This is the sunken bridge right at Hales Ford. It's just to the upstream of where the current bridge is. So I thought it was kind of fun when I saw that come up on the sonar. I wanted to get a grab of that. And so from there, I went into the creek there. It's called Hales Creek. Some people call it Campers. That's basically where the Jakes is. This is not all the way into Jakes, but this is a ball of bait. And these are kind of fun. This ball of bait is so thick that it makes the sonar bounce up to the top and then back down and back up and back down because it thinks that this is the bottom right here. And I was having a good time just doing screenshots here, so I have a few of these.
Were you inside the no-wake buoys?
This was in the actual creek, so, where you go around the corner and you're in sort of that larger bay before you get into the no-wake zone. No, so, no, this was in the bigger, and you can see I was in 45 feet of water here. I got pretty excited by this for the reason that I have a cast net that has 50 feet of rope, right? So when you see bait that's above 50 feet, that means they're catchable because your net will hit the bottom here and it'll close on top of them and then you can get them. So again, this was a scouting trip, but I said to myself, I'm coming back there.
How do you know when you're talking about that screen coming all the way to the top, it's bouncing down and coming
Yeah.
to the top? How do you know it's not just debris you're seeing?
Well, I switch back and forth between the screens.
Okay.
And so you get this view and it's bouncing back and forth and you go, well, that's funny.
Yeah.
And then you look at this view and what you can tell immediately is there's water underneath this. Okay, so that is not brush, it's not trees.
Yeah, if you're
So
out
this
in
is
the
a
middle and
big
it's-
thick ball of bait. And then on the 2D, I don't have this adjusted quite right yet. You can see this is also 200 kilohertz. This is kind of the old school one. The chirp is at a much higher frequency. So if this down view was on chirp, the images would be sharper. But anyway, I thought this was a good contrast of the same picture with the two technologies.
John, when was this?
This was probably 3 weeks ago. And again, I just got real excited by this, so I have more pictures probably than I need. But I did go back here and try to catch the bait. So now this is a big hump on the bottom, and you can see the tree sticking up here. Not a good thing to throw your net on. Not recommended.
But you can catch it.
There is that, yeah.
You won't be able to retrieve it.
Yeah.
All right, so now there's a lot going on this screen. So now you can see, because I added the map here, you can tell exactly where I am here. This is turning the corner. These are where the no-wake buoys are at Casey's. This is in that little cove. This is coming around. This is where Jake's is. See where it says fuel? And these are the docks over here. This is the hotel. So, when I do the screen grab here, this is so that I can remember where I am and what I'm seeing. And the side scan here shows me that most of this bait ball that I've just gone over is over on the right side of the boat. There's a little bit over here on the left, but by far the majority of it is over here on the right. This down scan is kind of fun because it shows not only the bait, but here I have the A-scope turned on. And what's happening here is this is real time. These marks are hitting these fish right here. And I remember I told you it paints from right to left. And so the A-scope here is showing you, oh, I just hit something in the water column. And then you can look and see those marks show up here. And what's really cool about this is right here, 19 feet, I'm in 37 feet of water, and the cone that I'm shooting is 19 feet wide at the bottom right here. So this kind of gives you an idea of if you're going to throw the cast net, how near or far might it be to the back of the boat. And then this is the same set of marks, just with the down edge.
represents what's right under the boat?
Yes. Yep. So if you have down imaging that has the ability to turn an A-scope on, I would definitely turn it on. This is a similar kind of picture. What's kind of fun about this is, this is a super thick bait ball. This little fleck right here is this arch right here. That's a big striper. That's probably his little buddy right there. And I think we've heard Captain Chad say on more than one occasion, when you see a big ball of bait like this, jig above it or jig below it, but don't bother jigging in the middle because you'll waste your time and annoy the bait. But anyway, that's what's going on that screen. This is a tree, not good to throw on. And what's interesting is if you don't have this down image, you might see that and say, oh, maybe I'll jig that. Now, if you're just dropping a jig, that might be helpful if you're like right at this level, just above the branches. Over here, again, this is the A-scope that's marking the bait, in real time as the boat is going over it.
And how fast are you moving in the boat?
You can see zero, very still right here. This is 2 images. This is the actual marks of the fish, and this is this is the
Sonar.
This is the sonar, and this is the downscan.
I feel like there may be a fish or two in there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and you can see these marks are big enough that they would definitely be worth dropping a jig on.
When you start letting us know, I want you to send me pictures like it. Place order too.
This is what we're talking about.
That's what I want
You know,
you to do.
I spend a lot of time looking around, and when you see something good, it'd be nice to be able to share it with like-minded individuals.
Yeah, I went there
Right.
the other day and spent 3 hours grabbing, and I never put a hook in there.
Right.
This is just a different view. This is a long duration. This is probably 10 minutes of scanning. This is real time. What's here in the A-scope, and as it's moving from right to left, this was a spot where there was nothing in the water, and over here. So let's see. So I want to get to a different day when I went to Indian Creek, and I saw some fish, and I thought, today's the day. I'm going to throw the cast net on them. But before we get to that, this is trees sticking straight up, which if you're just looking at it on your sonar, you might think, oh, I'll try and fish that. Right?
Jigs down there.
A lot of money sitting out
It's a jig graveyard right there.
Umbrella rig graveyard.
On the other hand, look how similar these 2 images are, right? This one and this one. Well, this is money right here. That is all fish right there.
Nothing
And you can
underneath
see on
of
this
it.
one, there's not really much underneath it, even though this sonar, there's some little fish down around the bottom, and so this sonar just sort of puts in some arcs there. But if you're just looking at the sonar, you might think, is it a tree or not? So you really need to have a couple of views to make a decision about, is this worth my time?
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure.
I have a hummingbird.
Yeah.
And I have those cartoon characters, those fish and that.
Yeah, get rid of those.
Does anybody turn it off?
Yeah,
turn it off.
I think on Hummingbird it's
You
called
think you
Fish
got a lot of
ID,
fish
right?
and there's no
Fish
fish.
ID. Yeah, turn that off.
The first rule
Garmin
of-
has it all, turn that off too.
The first rule of Striper Club is turn the fish icon on. All right, so I think this was the day, and I think this is me throwing the cast net over here. And I got all excited because look how thick the bait was. This was in Indian Creek. And I thought, oh, I'm going to get something today. Well, unfortunately, you can see how deep the water is here. So as my net's coming down, the bait are like, not today. They're just swimming away. And so I thought it would be worth including this picture just to show that if you're throwing the net in too deep of water, you're just wasting your time and annoying the bait. Here's another nice striper right here. Again, just above the ball of bait. This is a very nice school of, I guess those are probably bigger baits because those are some pretty big marks there. But they're not moving the way stripers do when they're feeding. Again, this is Indian Creek. This is me throwing the cast net right here
You got lucky.
down to, yeah.
That looks like trees and stuff.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem right
Just
there.
missed you.
All right, so here's the map.
That's the end
And I'll tell you, this has become my favorite view, and I don't know if you can do this on your finder, but this is the map plus the sonar plus the downscan. And I like this because it lets me remember where I am when I see something interesting. This is the hotel right here, and the docks where the hotel is.
Oh, so that's Little Indian.
Yeah. Yep. And this is a very nicely formed bunch of echoes. I don't know whether those are stripers or not. These are probably stripers on the bottom.
Expect that's perch out on a little bit.
Perch, yeah. That makes sense.
Looking at that.
The bottom
Well,
one,
they're-
the striper is much larger. Creates a
Yeah.
larger arc.
Yeah.
Those may be bass also on the bottom. That's how bass
Yeah.
return almost like a thumb.
Yeah. Well, then they're only 30 feet of water, so they certainly could be. Some more fun scans from Indian. Again, here's this bait ball going straight down from the boat, and here you can see that more of it is off to the right side of the boat than to the left side of the boat. There's a little bit to the left, but if you're going to come back and throw the net, you're going to be concentrating on this side. Yep. And again, you can see there's some bigger fish over here and the smaller bait right here. See the bigger arches and the more clumped up stuff. This is same image, just a little further along. Okay, so this is another shot of the cast net coming down and 60 feet of water.
Did you get some this time?
I did. And I think it was because this ball of bait was just so thick. And I had a different net. I had a faster sinking net with the tape that keeps it out. But again, you can see how close I was to this dock.
What kind of shad did you get?
They were about 6 to 7 inch.
Were they really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good size. In fact, I got so many. My mistake here was I pulled the net up and I dumped it right into my bait tank. And there was so many fish that, scales were everywhere and the water got dirty right away. And so I realized the next time I went out, I had a tote bucket. And when I brought it up, I had 4 or 5 inches of water in the tote bucket and I dropped the bait into that. Then I got rid of the junk and I kept the good ones, and then I transferred into the bait tank. That worked a whole lot better. So this is the net going into the bait, and I was watching this on the screen thinking, yes. Yes. So this was my first successful scooping of the bait from the bottom. Say what? Yeah, tape net, both tape net. One's a 10 foot and one's an 8 foot. One has 1 pound and one has 1.5. Indian Creek. All right, so this is a different day. This is back at Hales, going past Hales and into Campers. So I saw this ball of bait. I thought, oh, that looks interesting. I'll come back around for that. Then a little further around the corner, I saw a nice trapper. I thought, oh, okay, I'll remember your name. Okay, that looks good. I'll come back and make a note of that. And then I saw this and I thought, well, now, right off this point here, before you come around, this is Jake's over here, right, with all the docks. I thought, oh, this is the place to be. And then I came around this corner, and lo and behold, the mother lode.
Train car.
Yeah, you can't miss. You're in 25 feet of water here. And again, this bait is so thick that this is where the thing's bouncing up and down. It thinks you're in 12 feet of water. Nope, 25, nope, 12, nope, 25. So I went in here, got fuel, got the nets out, turned around, and put the trolling motor down, snuck up on them nice and quiet. And then, as it comes over, since the ball of bait is here, I'm standing in the back of the boat, and I'm just waiting to see this thing start. Then I kill the trolling motor. Now the boat's just gliding, and I know that this is a big, long ball of bait. It probably goes this whole distance that the boat image is, and it's a piece of cake. Just throw it off the back, net's full of fish. So that was my last 3 or 4 outings, getting to know my Fishfinder and taking some different screenshots. And, you know, again, you can see the A-scope running here. In this particular example, I'm running it on chirp, which is the highest frequency, 1070. I'm in 26 feet of water, but I'm only shooting 7.7 feet at the bottom. That's how wide the cone is. So these are really stacked deep. These happen to be thread fin shad, by the way, which really surprised me because I was expecting to have alewives or bluebacks, but almost all of them had that, you know, extra bit along the dorsal that marks the thread fin.
Okay, you caught all these bait. Where's the striper?
I did catch a few striper. Actually, this bait, I was out the next day and I ran into Chad and Gary, and I was fishing with downlines and I ended up getting 2 bass, which was, I guess, not
I've done
satisfying to anyone. Yeah.
Well, you did very well, John.
Oh, thanks. I just wanted to share a little bit of.
How long have you
Screen
been
share.
running the GT56?
I got this in September, and so I've only been out maybe 10 times, and you know, you have to get out there and fiddle around. I've watched a bunch of videos on YouTube, and people give you some ideas. Garmin's got a couple of good videos that I think I'll probably put the links into the newsletter and on the webpage. And I found similarly when I had a Humminbird, there are some good things on YouTube. You just have to spend the time to find them. But ultimately, you got to get out there and just adjust the controls one at a time and see what difference it makes.
Mm-hmm. So you'd never run a GT54?
No. There is a video out there that compares the 54
And
to
the
the 56 side
56.
by side. And they're very similar. One's just a little less fuzzy. They have one great image where they're at a dam, and on the 54 you can tell that, you know, the dam does like an L, and on the 56 you can actually see the sharp 90-degree corners of it. So
I've
it's not
seen
like you
all
would
that.
miss it. It's just more
Yeah,
detail.
more detail.
Yeah.
I've got a 54, and I've seen they come out with this 56, and everybody loves it, but I haven't come
I
to the
don't-
point to drop another $400.
I don't know that it would be that different from what you have. All right. So anyway, those are all of the screenshots that I have, and I think that's. Let's see. I guess in the interest of time, we don't need to cover this. I wrote up a thing about how to take good pictures for the fish ladder contest. I'll just put this in the newsletter so that you can see it. But we've been getting some really good feedback there on the fish ladder, so happy to see that. Also, don't want to miss the opportunity to say thanks and welcome to new and renewing members. You know, this is in the newsletter every month, but since we're all here sharing and caring, if this is your first meeting, welcome. We're glad you're here. Yeah. All right, so Chad, I think that's about it for tonight.
Wait,
We
a
ha-
minute, wait a minute.
We got a door prize and
Oh.
we got a 50-50 to
Where's
do.
the
Yes,
fish
sir.
at?
Yes, sir.
What fish? Let's talk about that real quick, just real quick.
Oh, we want to do some sharing and caring.
Yeah, let's talk about that really quick.
I've been hunting for 2 months. So.
Who has been out fishing lately and you've had some success? If you don't mind, you don't have to tell your spot, but talk about, you know, are you fishing in the channel? Are you fishing in creeks? I know what you guys have been doing.
Yeah, we've been in Blackwater and
Stay out of Blackwater.
January 6th, you know, hunting season ended. Ken, my neighbor, Ken Brisky, you know, we all know Ken, but we got bored, so we went out and he went out, bought 2 dozen minnows. And you know Ken, he's a very successful retired business owner, and we only got 2 fish out of 24 minnows. So his cost analysis, we really got into it. And, you know, we got 2 fish. He said, we're not doing this again. So we got out the next morning, right at light. We caught some nice fish jigging and on 0 spooks. But there's a short little window, tight window in the morning, 7 to 7:30 at the time. It's earlier now. So then he slept in, he was going to bed early one night. I told Karen, I said, I'm going out just a heck of it, 7 o'clock.
Did
I
you wear
got
your
out,
life jacket?
I don't have one yet.
Oh, man.
But I have,
I know.
well, I do have them, they're not the special heavy duty one. But I got out there and it was on. All I could catch in 2 hours. And I caught my personal best, a 35-incher.
That's great.
And then I got Ken, and then we've been hitting it at night, going out from 7 to 9 o'clock, coming back with anywhere from 4 to 8 fish, nice fish. And Ken's been slaying the slot fish. He's in the front of my boat, so he gets the first cast. But we've been having fun. We're using jigs and hit sticks, and we kind of found out the best way to do the swamp monkey is I was bringing them, we're both bringing them too fast until one day I had to adjust my motor, and it dropped. It dropped deep into the light, and all of a sudden, bam, we were catching fish left and right. We found out with the jigs, drop it in the center of the light, any light. It doesn't have to be green, dock light, or marina light. We were just fishing lights. And once it dropped down, we got them. And then if there was a green light, we would be pulling hit sticks through them, and we were successful doing that. So, but we've had a blast.
Those hit sticks, are you winding them just really, almost as slow as you can go?
No, I was doing it. I did it both ways. The hit stick, the faster, the jig, the slower. I mean, that's what, for me, that's what worked.
Wow. Okay. Bandit. Okay. What length are those? Okay. Someone was talking about the fluke bite being on.
Well, my swamp monkey's with the fluke.
Yeah. But it sounds like the jig head needs to be a little lighter. Does that, because when I jig deep, I use a 3/4 ounce, but it sounds like if you're casting, it needs to be a lighter, right? Somebody was talking. Were you talking about that? Yes. Yeah. Okay. And that's just a regular jig head, not a swamp monkey, right?
Yeah.
Triangle jig head.
Yeah, it's the one that, what is it, another 9 shade head?
Okay.
Dwayne sells them down there.
Mm-hmm.
And give Keith at SNL Tackle, he's been giving us our 10% off, so
Yes.
that's been a great deal.
So the one thing that I can urge you to do is to reach out. If you're a new member or you're an inexperienced striper fisherman, reach out. You know, post on the regular striper, Smith Mountain Striper Club Facebook page. If you want someone to go fishing with you, if you want to go with someone, reach out. Let's connect through that right now, and we'll work to put something else in place that can connect folks in more immediate time. I think that's, if I'm on the water, I would. If you're catching fish at Beaver Dam, I'd like to know about that. I can get there pretty quick. But that's, I mean, that's, like I said earlier, that's kind of the goal of this whole thing is to put this community together. And we've got some really great outreach things that we're doing. You know, the thing with TLAC that we're doing, the real connections things that we're doing. Those are going to make us more visible in the community and hopefully help grow our membership. But the ultimate goal of this thing is to get out and fish and help each other fish and catch fish. Because there's nothing any worse than going out this time of year when it's 38 degrees and you go out there and get skunked. And I think I told Gary the other day, I said, we're on these fish, we can't get them to bite. I said, to hell with this. I said, I'm going to burn the boat and sink it. Everything. I mean, it is that frustrating sometimes.
It's not just me.
So when I fish with Gary's my brings me back down to reality. No, we'll go find somewhere else. So, but anybody else got anything as far as I've been out fishing?
Well, I was just gonna mention, you talked about the phones, and I have an iPhone, but you said the other phone only does so many people on it, or something like that. I mean, you could break it down to where, I mean, somebody way up at the dam or at the bridge is not gonna come over to Blackwater to Gills Creek area or something, so you might be able to break down to so many people on one certain area of fishing area that could keep.
And that's what that member survey form could do. It could put us in smaller groups, and you're exactly right. So we do have some things that we're going to try to do to try to make this thing, like you said, a little more community oriented.
I've never fished in the wintertime for stripers.
You're missing it.
What,
It's so
what
good to be
time of
cold.
day, night?
He was fishing 7 to 9 is what I just heard, with the lights. I think that's what I just heard.
Yeah.
Have dinner and go
That's
back
about
out.
that in my memory.
Have dinner and go back out. It's easy.
Kill Creek Black, yeah. B11, right at G1.
All right, I'm in 20. You can start, if I can find out who's in our area. You know.
Well, that's not big. Just a lot of Blackwater guys, Roanoke guys. With fuel prices, we don't go for them.
Hey guys, hold on.
Early in the morning.
Guys, hold on 1 second. Frank's talking. Hold on.
You see where they're going, so you just have it right there.
Right,
And there's, what you going, but this is a big lake.
right, right.
So you just let them go there, to where they you reach out.
Well, that's one thing we want to try to give the guides on this lake. We do want to give them their space. That would be tough if 10 of us said, hey, we saw Tommy fishing down in Long Creek, and then we all come in on him. That's tough. That would be, that would be a little
That's
tough.
what not to
That's
do.
a small
Yeah.
lake.
Right, right.
Chad, one thing you might wanna look at is looking at Microsoft Teams. They have a chat type of system that I know a lot of businesses are using. I'm not using it in business, but for a couple of other, other groups I'm involved with. And you put, well, in one of them, we have over 100 people on it.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
then you create smaller groups, and you create groups by Blackwater, Braddock,
Yeah.
wherever also.
That's
That's
true.
one thing I have.
If the club bought a Teams subscription and paid for it, you could set up
Well,
multiple
you can
groups and
sign in and
teams.
out of that, unlike a
Yeah.
text message that,
Yeah,
when it starts going off, sometimes you don't wanna be hearing that.
that's right.
Oh, that's true too. I never thought
Yeah,
about
so the
that.
text message is not the best solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're at an outing with the wife and everybody's on the lake catching fish.
That's why you're looking at your phone. I don't wanna be here, I wanna be fishing.
Chad,
Quick way to get a divorce.
Chad, I just want to tell y'all, today I didn't have anything to do, so I made a bunch of sinkers up there. They're free for the taking, take as many as you want. I don't want to take any home tonight.
Awesome. Thank you.
Take as many as you want.
Butch, so my idea for the and I want to